Hi, Pat and Cindy. I'm standing just off Route 111 in Biddeford in a small commercial parking lot. This is where police are trying to piece together what exactly happened a little earlier this afternoon. Well, Pat and Cindy, this is still a fairly active scene. We aren't exactly sure what happened earlier this afternoon, but police say it may not have been an accident. They've been here for a couple hours now. More and more investigators are continuing to arrive. There are about a dozen or so now. The incident happened sometime between 3 and 4 o'clock.
We have an update on the person who was hit and killed by a car in Biddeford.
Center's Dustin Clips is on the scene and has the latest. Dustin?
Hi, Pat and Cindy. I spoke to a state police detective just a few minutes ago. He has ID'd the victim in this incident as Matthew Perry, a 30-year-old man who lives here in Biddeford. He says that that man was known to police here. They are not sure of Perry's cause of death just yet. They are waiting on an autopsy for that to happen, but do say that he was hit by a truck in this parking lot. They don't know who was driving that truck. They're still looking for that person.
News Center's Dustin Clips has been following this story for us today and is live in Biddeford tonight. Dustin?
Well, Amanda, whatever happened, it had a somewhat gruesome aftermath. When employees at this Papa John's showed up to work this morning, they found blood smeared across a front window.
News Center's Dustin Clips joins us now from the site. And Dustin, it's not hard to see or hear why neighbors may be upset.
Yeah, that's right, Pat and Caroline. I don't really need to say much to explain what's going on here. You can actually feel the ground shake underneath your feet as the concrete from the old viaduct is pulled away. And that's why some folks here in Bath are losing a little bit of sleep.
Now, I'm only getting a couple hours of sleep a night.
Joe Black has lived in Bath for a while. He hasn't lived in this building on Middle Street the whole time, but says the past few days have been like
living in a war zone. You get the jackhammer, which is like a machine gun. You get the wrecking ball, which is like grenades or bombs going off. So yeah, a war zone. Oh, you get shaking. The room shakes and yeah.
Joe isn't the only one losing sleep over the demolition. Some of his neighbors have been waking up in the middle of the night, forcing them to change work schedules.
Well, last night, for example, I was up from about 2 to 4, just listening and like peeking out the window to see if they were close to being done.
Chelsea Hines says she's lucky she has a flexible schedule so she can start work later in the day. But she wonders if it would have been possible for the DOT to just shut the roads down completely for a week to get the viaduct down.
That would be a little bit easier to work with because I'm not home during the day.
Others say the noise doesn't bother them that much, if at all, though. Sure, the house shakes a little bit, but maybe you can distract yourself.
I don't pay attention to it most of the times.
So how do you tune it out?
Watch TV or I'll take a ride.
Either way, it's not going to change the construction schedule in the near future. The best these folks can hope for is a nice, clean road when it's all done.
Oh, I'm always excited about new things, especially this one going down and the new one going up.
Now, the state DOT has addressed the noise issues in emails to us. They say that it's part of getting this project done a little bit more quickly, but that still isn't supposed to happen until the middle to end of this month. Pat and Caroline.
Thank you very much, Dustin.
News Center's Dustin Clips has finally been let into the Hillary Clinton event in New Hampshire. He joins us now from Manchester, where the crowd is pretty fired up about the announcement from the FBI. Dustin?
Yeah, Amanda, that's right. You can see some of them filing in here right now. I'd say we probably have a few hundred people gathering in this room at the Armory at the Radisson Hotel here in downtown Manchester. And as I was talking to them a little bit earlier, as they were all lining up in the different rooms around here, they were pretty excited about that email announcement. Some saying that it really validated their beliefs from earlier in this election cycle. Some also saying that this was something they were praying to have happen. There are folks here from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, as well as Maine, all over New England, trying to get to this message out with just about 24 hours and a little bit more than that until Election Day. So tonight, they're going to hear from Hillary Clinton as she comes up here from her last campaign stop. You're also going to hear a little bit of music from James Taylor as well. We'll have the latest on that at 11, of course, online. Amanda?
All right, and let's go to Dustin Clips, who is with the No on Question 1 folks in South Portland. Dustin, over to you.
Hi, Vivian. It is equally nail-biting over here in South Portland. I'm here with Scott Gagnon once again, who is telling me a little bit about, again, the geography of this race is critical. Now, there's a particular community that you were telling me is important for your campaign right now.
Yeah, the latest numbers we've seen, it doesn't look like Bangor is in yet, and a lot of the communities in Aroostook and Washington County have not come in yet either. And we know those are strongholds for us. We've done a lot of campaigning up there. We had a lot of strong, we had some strong.
The Dakota Access Oil Pipeline is nearly complete between Illinois and North Dakota. But a lot of protesters, including some Mainers, have tried to hold up the project. News Center's Dustin Clips explains.
Standing Rock, not just an interesting sounding geological feature, but a place and now a movement. Standing Rock is the name of an American Indian reservation on the border of North and South Dakota. An energy company is trying to build an oil pipeline across multiple plain states under a body of water sacred to the Standing Rock Sioux. Now thousands of people are camped near the reservation trying to block the pipeline, including, at least at times, some Mainers.
I literally just got off the plane. I've been sleeping in a field in a 3-season tent in the middle of North Dakota in mid-November.
Lara Carlson traded time at home in Kennebunkport for the less cushy camp at Standing Rock this past week.
It's very dear to my heart, the situation out there.
She's not the only one. About 100 concerned Mainers gathered in Portland tonight to talk about the pipeline protest. They heard from a local Penobscot woman who drove there from Indian Island with 2 of her sons earlier this year.
The first time, it took us about 32 hours to get there. We went straight through.
June Sapio went because she sympathizes with the Standing Rock Sioux. The Penobscots have been involved in their own legal battle over water rights in Maine for years.
Do you like swimming in the water? Do you like being next to the water? You know, it's simple. It's a basic necessity.
June is worried the Missouri River might become polluted if a pipeline is built but then breaks. She and others in this room want to prevent that and maybe do a little cleaning themselves before protesting full force.
To be honest, I can't wait to get home and have a shower.
In Portland, Dustin Clips, News Center.
Earlier this week, News Center tried out a bit of a social experiment. We knew many of our viewers would be sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, maybe with someone who has a different political stance than they do.
With that in mind, Dustin Clips made a pitch on Facebook asking a Donald Trump voter and a Hillary Clinton voter to sit down and talk with one another on camera. We got some responses, and last night 2 strangers met at Governor's in Lewiston. Here's what happened.
Zach Chevery lives in Rangeley, and there's no question he looks like it.
This thing moves me pretty good. After 4 or 5 rounds out of it at the range, I'm ready to put it down.
He's a member of the NRA, hunts coyotes with an AR-15, and paves roads for a living.
I'm not a politically correct person. I tell it like it is.
He's also passionate about politics. This year, in between killing rabbits for dinner and growing potatoes, he spent a lot of time thinking about the presidential election.
I'm sure people like, how can you support Hillary Clinton and also be an advocate for firearms and things like that? But you can.
Yep, this bearded 260-pound multi-generation Mainer who lives in the woods said there was no way he could vote for President-elect Donald Trump.
You know, my kids are getting older. One thing that does make me actually worry is I have an 11-year-old. Well, she's going to become a young woman during this presidency. The thing on the bus, it was boys talk. It was. I'll give him that. He didn't know he was being filmed. But it was what he said. It wasn't just a derogatory joke.
More than 100 miles south of Rangeley in Elliott, there's a small garage on a quiet street in sight of New Hampshire. Most days you'll find Dan Richards here underneath some kind of car or another.
These automobiles, they redesign them every model year. As soon as you get good at fixing one aspect of it, they change it.
Dan also likes to watch the news on PBS, keeps up with foreign policy.
I was preaching Brexit like heck. I said, look what happened over there. I said, people that hadn't voted in decades got off their couches and they went out and voted.
And thinks Donald Trump should cool it on social media.
Somebody should take away his Twitter account.
Yet, and you can see where I'm going with this, right? Dan voted for Trump and likes him a lot.
Some people will say he got, silver spoon and all that and everything handed to him. His father gave him $1 million and he built this empire. Plenty of people could be given $1 million and end up in a ditch in no time.
Hillary, he says, seemed robotic and out of touch.
It wasn't always easy to find her out there presenting anything, and when I did find something and watched it, she wasn't talking to me at all. She was talking to women and minorities, and she had nothing to say to me.
Head spinning or blood boiling yet? Good. Dan and Zach like that. But they also have a lot in common and think we can all talk about our differences respectfully. So that's what we did at Governor's over coffee. What the heck happened? I guess is my question. I mean, you don't fit what most people imagine.
I think that's a huge problem. They're trying to put us into categories. They're trying to break us down. These are the educated, college-educated voters. These are the Latinos, and they can't be broken down that way. It just can't be. You can't draw a straight line.
Well, there isn't. That's just it.
Zach and Dan didn't yell at each other the whole time. Instead, they talked about their differences on issues like political correctness and national security.
Presidents, I thought, were always tougher. They weren't so concerned with what they were going to say might offend somebody. They were just down to business, got things done, and I felt our country was safe.
I feel like there's really a line where you go from politically correct things that might offend people. I don't care if anyone's offended if the truth is the truth, but you can cross that line into kind of, derogatory statements.
They also agreed on a lot, like Donald Trump's stance on term limits for legislators. How do you get somebody who actually writes the laws, do you think, to be kind of like you, to maybe get themselves out of their own comfort zone?
Diversity when it comes to the people that are making the laws. So that is something, good about, I think, that will come out of it is some of these term limits. I think that will be productive.
You got to change up the gene pool here a little bit. You got to get rid of some of the dead wood and bring in some fresh ideas. And you can't have the same people making the same wrong decisions over and over.
One more area of agreement, compromise, and having respectful conversations. The pair think lawmakers and the rest of us need to do more of both. How do you two navigate life with people who have different opinions? I mean, you're doing it right now a little bit, but how do you get along with everybody?
It's pretty easy to get along.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what's hard about it. If someone has a different viewpoint, you don't have to. That doesn't make them stupid or ignorant or any of that.
It's obvious that somebody you're communicating with is real passionate about their belief, and you're not going to sway them. They're even aggressive about trying to sell you on their belief. You don't have to engage them.
You can just not.
It was good talking to you. All right, I'll see you around. That's it. It's over.
Yeah, that's not hard to do.
Right. You don't have to go flip over someone's car.
Meantime, the Public Utilities Commission says some landline telephone customers in Maine are not getting the quality of service they are legally guaranteed. The PUC is now coming up with a way to address the problem, and our Dustin Clips explains.
For some Mainers, landlines are crucial. Senior citizens and people who live in rural areas might not have cell phones they can use in an emergency. It's why the state of Maine requires service providers like Fairpoint to maintain certain standards.
These metrics were established intentionally.
That's Harry Lanfear, a spokesman for the PUC. He says the commission knows Fairpoint wasn't following certain guidelines. Those guidelines are complicated, so we asked him to simplify.
The easiest one, I think, maybe to explain would be resolving a network outage.
Fairpoint only has a certain amount of time to fix that problem. If they don't, there are consequences.
A certain percentage of those issues need to be resolved in 24 hours.
Fairpoint is disputing this, saying the state's measurements are outdated. They say the Maine state legislature approved current standards in the last session for areas of the state that do not have competition. We are operating and compliant under those measurements. A company spokesperson also told me Fairpoint is committed to providing good service, especially in areas where it's the only landline provider. Touchtone phone emoji, cordless handset emoji.
They'll have a chance to make the case to the PUC as the commission works to determine how it should remedy the situation. In Portland, Dustin Clips, News Center.
Hi, Rob and Cindy. These wreaths are exactly the same size as the ones that were taken over the weekend. In total, this farm is now out about $3,000.
Tomorrow's storm is causing a major rush at area tire shops. The first big storm of the season usually causes a spike in snow tire sales at places like VIP Tires in Portland. But because tomorrow is Monday, the rush is on.
Let me see which aisles they have their snow tires in.
You normally won't see Tim Winkler back here.
I don't think it's going to be over there. I think it's going to be down this way.
As a COO,
I'm not usually working at counter helping customers, but today I'm doing it.
Weekends are already busy, but
today's been crazy.
With winter weather on the way,
we know our phones are going to be ringing and we're going to be putting a lot of snow tires on cars.
It's all hands on deck. These stacks of tires show just how busy VIP's been lately. By the end of this weekend, they'll have sold over 5,000 of them. A few will go to Corey Young.
They're going to try to squeeze me in.
His business,
I just want to make sure I can get where I need to go.
Is keeping the garage busy.
Probably shouldn't wait last minute, but it happens.
The techs have been deflating, switching, balancing, adding studs, and applying this great smelling fluid to hundreds of tires to get cars ready.
It's tedious, not tough.
It's good for Corey.
Better traction, better handling.
And good for VIP's bottom line. 2015 wasn't like this.
Our sales just in the month of November last year were down over $1 million as a company.
That means today's rush is a win-win, keeping a main company going and this minivan on the road. In Portland, Dustin Clips, News Center.
Maine voters have legalized marijuana. Now the question is, when will it officially become legal? There's a proclamation on Governor LePage's desk right now that okays recreational marijuana, but the governor hasn't signed it yet, and even if he doesn't, as he has threatened, the proclamation goes into effect at the end of the month. What happens after that? News Center's Dustin Clips explains.
There you are, bent over the table, painstakingly reading every line of Maine's 30-page Marijuana Legalization Act. But after digesting over 13,000 words, you may be wondering, so when can I actually get this stuff anyway?
In the end of January, marijuana will be legal for adults 21 and over. They'll be able to possess up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana, and they'll be able to grow a limited number of plants at home.
Seems simple, right? Wrong. Turns out Maine State Legislature could modify any part of these 30 pages they want, but doing that might not be so popular with voters.
We think that would really run counter to the will of the voters, so we would really fight that. I don't expect that to happen. It hasn't happened in other states.
Here's what the pro-marijuana policy writers are giving for their expected timeline. By the end of January, you'll be able to possess or give someone up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana. You'll also be able to have a certain number of marijuana plants at your house. By 2018, the pot supporters hope the legislature will have okayed rules and regulations for the marijuana businesses and social clubs. That's when you'll be able to buy pot at a store. In the interim, medical marijuana dispensaries might be allowed to sell pot.
Given that Colorado was the first state to do this and they had stores up and running about a year later, we think that 1 year is pretty reasonable for Maine to do it.
Okay, great. This sounds pretty straightforward. But surprise, there's more. Each municipality will be allowed to set its own rules and regulations for marijuana. Even if the state allows it, cities and towns could decide to ban it on their own. The pro-pot folks won't necessarily stand in local leaders' ways either.
We totally respect the rights of towns to make those decisions about whether or not or how marijuana businesses should be in their community.
The bottom line is we only have a rough idea how this will play out. Either way, there's plenty of time for you to read up on all 47 terms in the law, like unreasonably impracticable. In Portland, Dustin Clips, News Center.
That includes the processing facility in Scarborough. News Center's Dustin Clips checked out the mail rush this afternoon. Hi, Dustin.
Hi, Pat and Amanda. Well, I was in the plant a little earlier this afternoon, and I thought it was busy then because I was dodging carts and forklifts full of mail. But apparently it gets even more hectic later on tonight. That's when all the mail from all the post offices in Maine arrives here. So I got a little tour from the plant manager. He says the extra staff is on hand this time of year to help out process all the mail. The reason today is so busy is people buy gifts or get cards over the weekend and send them out on this Monday. By the numbers, the plant processes an average of 130,000 packages a day and around 400,000 to 600,000 letters during the 2 weeks before Christmas.
Mail early. There's no secret to it. The earlier you get that package or letter into the mail stream, the better it is. So it's just sheer volume. You know, the more volume that comes through a system, the harder it is to get it processed. But here in the Postal Service, we make sure we get every piece delivered right up until the time, you know, that on Friday night, Christmas Eve day, that we make sure that we clear everything that we have.
And the longer that you wait, the more expensive it is going to be to send that package. Overnight shipping is significantly more expensive than priority mail.
Dustin, for those procrastinators out there, what is the absolute deadline to get it in the mail for Christmas?
All right, well, priority mail takes about 2 to 3 days to get a package where it needs to go. But again, if you do overnight shipping, it's going to be more, but it's supposed to get there the next day. So that would give you about Friday because Sunday is Christmas.
A new scam in Falmouth is raising some serious concerns.
It involves a threat to someone's life, and if the scam victim doesn't pay up, the scammer says they're going to kill them. The victim of this scam contacted police, so now police are getting out and telling Mainers what to watch out for. Newsletter's Dustin Clips is in Falmouth with more on the story now. Dustin?
Yeah, Robin, Cindy, police here in Falmouth say this is the first time they've seen a scammer making this kind of threat. They're concerned more people are going to be targets, which is why they want the public to know what to watch out for. The scam was reported to them yesterday. A woman got a text message from someone she didn't know saying they'd kill her if she didn't send an email to an email address in that text. Investigators emailed the address pretending to be a scam victim. The reply said to wire $5,000 to a person in Istanbul, Turkey. The scammer saying the money would be used to help refugees. Falmouth police are confident no one is in danger. They just want the public to stay alert.
I'm very confident. I mean, this is the same language that all the other scams are using, but just a little different formula and more direct and more threatening. They're trying different things that work.
Falmouth police do not expect that this is an isolated incident. They want you to call your local police department if you get a text like that woman got. Robin, Cindy.